Evening, everybody. Welcome to the Future Birmingham podcast, a podcast where we discuss everything Birmingham and the future of Birmingham. In current times, we have the 2026 local elections coming up, and on this platform, on this podcast, we are inviting and offering an opportunity to current councillors and to prospective candidates to come onto the podcast and lay their vision and tell us their plans, what they intend to do if and when they get elected as councillor. It's no secret, Birmingham cannot get any worse. Cannot get any worse. And we need some immediate help, urgent help. Who's going to fix it? Broken Britain, it's broken Birmingham. Who's going to fix Birmingham? So this evening with us, we have our first Lib Dem candidate, Mr. Tanveer Choudhry. Sir, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Tanveer, I've known him since I was a very, very young boy. I have immense respect for Tanveer. So I think as long as I've known you, you've been a councillor. I have him stored in my phone as councillor Tanveer. And that was before I ever did networking or anything like that at all. So thank you for taking time out. I know it's, number one, he's poorly. Number two, he should be out campaigning. I believe your partner's out campaigning.
That's correct.
Thank you for taking the time out and joining us this evening. So Tanveer is standing for Lib Dems for Sparkbrook.
Spark Hill.
Sorry, Spark Hill.
No.
People, we are on TikTok Live. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop them into the comments. I am moderating. So someone raised a comment today saying that I was very rude with Shide Butt, that I was looking away whilst he was talking. I have to moderate the live. I have to filter some inappropriate comments. I have to sift through all the spamming and pick the questions out as well as asking my own questions. So bear with me. I am sorry if I've offended anybody, but I'm only one man. Tanveer, sir, how are we?
Alhamdulillah. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and obviously give me the platform. And like you said, we've known each other a very, very long time. I was a local councillor from 2004 to 2011. And, we did a lot of good work with my councillors. So, again, coming back in the fold, getting back into the swing of things, and obviously being a prospective candidate along with the Savara saying for the ward of Spark Hill. So, inshallah, we look forward to working with the local community, tackling the issues that they have. So if there's anything that you want me to add to that.
Cool. There's a lot of people who are on the live now who probably don't know who you are.
Gee.
So just a little bit about yourself and your background.
Of course. So moved into Birmingham. We were in 1983. We came from Yorkshire. Allah Jinska, my dad sort of moved over here, and we grew up in Spark Hill. So I won't say I was born in Spark Hill, but bred in Spark Hill. From the age of, I think it was 13 when we moved to Birmingham. So I know the area really well. So the social issues, all the issues that.
You live in Spark Hill, don't
So
you?
I used to live in Spark Hill. We moved into Newton Road in Spark Hill, so the heart of Spark Hill.
Yes.
And then when I got married, I moved into Jeffrey Road, which is just off the Showgreen Lane.
Yes.
So lived there, and again, we stayed in there, but unfortunately that house got a little bit too small. So we moved into Hall Green about 9 years ago. So even though I may not live within the ward, I know the ward really well. I was a councillor from 2004 to 2011 in the ward of Spark Hill, the old Springfield ward.
Which party?
Liberal Democrats.
Lib Dems.
Yeah,
okay.
Lib Dems, where I first started and back to my home of where I really started with, and inshallah remained for. I was the lead member for West Midlands Police Authority for a year. I was the Hall Green constituency chair for a year. I was the ward chair for a couple of years. I was the local authority chairman for a year, vice chair of Health Overview Scrutiny Committee. So I've been, alhamdulillah, I've been in the fold for a long time.
Okay.
And also we know all the social issues that plague a lot of the inner city areas, like for example, Spark Hill, Sparkbrook, Ballsy Green, Alum Rock. These kind of areas. So we know the various issues.
So basically, you are very well versed with the whole political structure and how local politics
work
in Birmingham, particularly in Birmingham, how they work.
Indeed.
You stood for council in 2018, I believe, as well.
Correct. Yeah.
For Lib Dems again.
No, that was for the Conservatives back then.
In 2018.
Yes.
Okay, and you know well. My research tells me in 2018 it was
2000 was 18, my apologies. I did stand for the Conservatives for 1 year. That
was in 2020.
2020, my apologies.
Yes.
Yes, it was 22. I got the dates mixed up then. But yes, and the reason for that was, unfortunately,
you got 1,200 votes for that.
I got 1,200 votes. I didn't get, Conservatives didn't get many votes before that within that area in Hall Green North. And sort of my reasoning behind that was I had a little bit of an issue. I was out of politics for a fair while due to family reasons and issues. So I took sort of my leave out of politics. And then a very good friend of mine convinced me to stand for the Conservatives at that time. And again, I left the Conservatives very shortly after that because of what Suella Braverman was doing at the time, you know, calling Pakistanis or the grooming gangs, when their own statistics showed that grooming gangs, 83% of their grooming gangs were white. But yet she was just kept calling sort of the Pakistani Muslim, especially the Rochdale issues. And we admit, you know, no matter where these issues are, they have to be called out. But not just called out within the Muslim community or the Pakistani community. We also need to call them out in every other areas that are there, especially if it's white. It doesn't matter what they are. Criminality is criminality. And because Suella Braverman was making all these noises about sort of Pakistanis and so forth, I felt it appropriate that I didn't belong in that anymore. So I resigned my membership of the Conservatives.
Okay. So in 2022, when you stood as a Conservative, previously you'd been a serving councillor for the Lib Dems.
Gee.
You'd taken a break.
Gee.
Then you stood for Lib Dem candidacy again. You got 1,200 votes, but you didn't get in. And then 2022, you stood for the Conservatives.
Gee.
What was it about the Conservatives that actually made you stand for the...
Again, for me, it wasn't national politics. I'm all about local politics. I'm looking to making wherever I stand and the areas that I live in, areas that I grew up in, better, safer, cleaner for the community. So my issues were always about local politics at the time.
And just a little point there, there's a comment that I was also part of the Tory party. Yes, I was.
Yeah.
I was.
We were there. We were actually together. Yeah.
I have no shame in that. No,
It's not-
I was a candidate. I had a family death, which kind of
Of course, that's right.
threw everything off course for me.
Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi
I wasn't successful in that, but I mean, this is the thing with TikTok. You get good, bad, and the ugly. But yeah, I was a candidate, and
We were together at the time.
Yes, absolutely.
And look, again, I just want to make it clear to everybody. For me, and I'm sure for yourself, and majority of the local candidates and councillors, prospective councillors, it's about trying to make the area that we live in better. Okay? Making sure that we have the services that we need, the area is better, cleaner, safer for us to live in. Now, we had that issue in 2022. We want to make sure that our Hall Green North at the time is where I stood. I lived on Baldwin's Lane, but I stood there because it was the closest one to me, and I still knew part of it because it was my old ward. So I just want to make changes within the area.
Okay. In terms of party politics, what would you say are the main differences between the Lib Dems and the Conservatives, let's say?
Well, right now, we want youth services. For example, if we look at the last Labour budget,
We'll come on to Labour in a minute, and I have a massive thing about them. Massive thing. But because you stood for Lib Dems, you were a councillor, and then you stood for Conservatives, what are the main differences?
For me, the biggest issue I had with the Conservatives, and I still do, is the amount of bad press that the Muslims are getting. I mean, unfortunately, it hasn't stopped. If you look at Robert Jenkins has now gone to the Reform, and you look at Suella Braverman, who's now gone to Reform. If you look at everything they're talking about, Muslims, all about anti-Islam. There's so much Islamophobia that within the Conservative Party at that time, and even now to a certain extent, I think one of the Conservative MPs had made issues about Muslims. For me, that's a huge issue. Within the Lib Dems, I've never encountered that. I've never encountered it. And alhamdulillah, with local policies, we're looking at making our areas greener, safer, cleaner, looking at youth services, looking at elderly services, making the bus routes a lot better. So there's a lot of local policy that I'm in agreement in terms of the Lib Dems.
Okay, so some would say, looking at your career, that it could be argued that you're a political opportunist or a career politician. What would you say to that?
Well, opportunity depends. The Conservatives weren't doing exactly fantastic when I went to them. So, I didn't run to them thinking I was going to get elected. Plus, I stood in Hall Green North. Now, in Hall Green North at that time, Conservatives weren't doing fantastic. So we went from not many votes to 1,200 votes when I stood. So if I was a career politician, I would have stood just about everywhere and anywhere. But I haven't. The only time I ever moved is when I had a chat with a very good friend of mine, who I've got a lot of time and respect for, and I was convinced to stand with him in Holgreen North. Now, looking back at it, was it the best decision ever made? Probably not. But then we live and learn. So the only party that I've ever been with is Lib Dems. So I had one time when I stood with the Conservatives, but I'm now back with the Liberal Democrats, which is where I started. So just to point, I started with the Liberal Democrats way back when. I think it was 2000 when I started, or just before 2000, started helping Jerry Evans' campaign within Sparkhill. And then they gave me the opportunity in 2004. So I got involved in politics quite a long time ago. And Jerry Evans, who was a fantastic councillor within Birmingham, one of the best in the UK as far as I'm concerned, he helped with some issues within my own family. And may Allah bless Uncle Rashid, who helped us get into politics. He was the one who kind of steers us in the direction of politics, saying that you've got to get involved. If we want to improve our area, if we want to improve our local services, if we want to tackle the social issues within Sparkhill, and the outer areas, then you have to get involved. Because if you want to sit back and then point fingers and say, well, we haven't got this and we haven't got that, and we can't do this and we can't do that. Well, it's all right pointing fingers, but then you've got to get involved, and that's what we did.
That one point, and I totally get you that people, and I've always been a big advocate of people getting involved. But with the current election and with the way things are happening right now, and with this whole independent movement, I totally get that you should get involved. But don't you think that there's a bit too many getting involved right now in terms of launching themselves as candidates?
So first and foremost, I think it's fantastic that all these people are now involved in local politics and they're taking an interest. Yeah. And I understand where the frustration comes, because I get a lot of, if you stand for a mainstream party, then you have to abide by their rules and by the whip and so on and so forth, which is understandable. So they want to stand as independent. So it's fantastic that we're getting all these independent candidates. But the problem we have, if we look historically, we had the Justice Party many, many years ago, and they had 8 local councillors elected at that time.
Yes.
Excuse me. So now, within a very short period of time, they came and joined the Liberal Democrats. Okay? And then years later, I'll come into why in a minute, but then years later, we had the Respect Party. Okay? And then they had 3 or 4 councillors. I can't remember exactly how many. Yes. But then again, they've dissipated after a while. So who's left still? You've still got the mainstream parties. Now, if you want to affect real change within the council, independents, unfortunately, as good as they are, they can't affect real change. Can they affect budgets? No, they can't. Can they affect policies? No, they can't. So what is
this is a question that I've asked. Thankfully, I've had a lot of independents reach out, volunteering to come on, and it's been brilliant. And I've had some really credible candidates on that so far. And the question that I've asked everybody is that if you get 10, 20 independents in, and if you're debating or scrutinizing a particular issue and you can't reach a conclusion, which way does it go?
Exactly. And this is where we have why.
And that is a real concern for me, being a resident of Birmingham and being the age I am right now. And that's why I'm doing this podcast. We don't need the publicity. We genuinely am concerned.
So, again, if you go back to the days of the Justice Party, the reason I think they became Lib Dem councillors is because to affect policy. Now, as independent councillors, what effect could they have really made? They couldn't. So they had to join a mainstream party. Now, they joined the Liberal Democrats because they definitely didn't want to go to the Conservatives and didn't want to go to Labour at the time. So their natural... They
joined the Lib Dems, yeah.
Joined the Lib
that
Dems.
Was the.
Of course. And then in 2004, we took charge of Birmingham City Council when we went to coalition with the Conservatives. Now, when we went into coalition with the Conservatives, Labour Party was a failing government, right? A local government. Social services was in special measures from what I can remember. Now, in 2004, when we took over, we then lost control in 2012. Now, when we lost control, we took it out of special measures. We actually brought it into a functioning and stable local government. And then we took social services out of special measures, and it was really doing really well. Now, within 12 short years, in 2024, I do believe, when they had to file for bankruptcy, within 12 years, they've bankrupted the council again.
Yes.
You know,
So
100 million spent on IT.
yeah, it's-
You know, the problem we have with Labour is, and we're not, you know, pointing fingers at anybody, but the fact is, that's just a fact.
Yes.
They have bankrupted the council.
Yes.
They have made a huge financial errors. 100 million spent on IT. You know, bicycle lanes everywhere. Commonwealth Games. There's so, and look at the village that they made for the games.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's
Absolutely.
disaster after disaster after disaster.
So from your experience, and I'm grateful that I have somebody who's been in that position before.
Gee.
If we get, for example, 10 independents
Gee.
who get through, what do you see happening?
Well, okay. Now we have to look at as Birmingham as a whole. There's 101 councils in Birmingham.
Yes.
Now, 10, maybe even 20 independents,
Yes.
for argument's sake.
Yes.
Well, they still can't affect any change. And this is where we're going to have an issue. So, for example, they will then have to form a coalition with one of the parties.
Can the independents form their own party?
If they so wish, of course they can.
Okay.
Of course they can. That's up to them. But
Do
they
you
would have to
feel-
come to a conclusion.
Do you feel that that's the way the ICL is going?
Well, anybody who gets in, with the ICL, they've got their own party. Now, ICL is going to put out, from what I'm aware, candidates throughout
Yes.
the ward, right?
Yeah.
So, and they've got some really good candidates. I'm not going to.
They
I can't deny that they've got some really good candidates, outstanding candidates. But the fact of the matter still remains. Let's say they get elected, they get 10 councillors, right? In certain wards where the demographic is more suitable towards them, right?
Yes.
Now, they may do well there. They may get councillors. They may not. That remains to be seen. But then, what possible effect can they have within the council?
This is my-
Now,
yeah.
let's, for example, one of the biggest issues we have in the area is things like potholes, rubbish, fly tipping, so on and so forth. Well, if you go into Fix My Street, anybody, currently at this particular moment in time, anybody wants to check, I've done about just over 300 people, myself and Tasavvur, and the local Lib Dems, we've done about 300 pieces of casework, just fly tipping, rubbish, potholes, you name it. And these are big issues.
Has
within
there
the-
been any success from that?
Of course we have, and I can actually, if you want, I can show you the photographs, and if you want, I can come around and show you all the stuff that we have had taken away. It makes a big, but we as local residents can do that anyway.
Yes.
Now, what am I going to do if and when I become a councillor? Well, I want to look at things like, Sparkle Park. When I first got elected in 2004, Sparkle Park, Percy Road Park, and Reading Lane Park, which was in my constituency at the time, they were some of the worst kept parks in Birmingham.
Okay.
So myself, Councillor Jerry Evans, and Uncle Fazil, who was the councillor at the time, it was a three council. They were all three council wards, right? I think there was 120 councils at the time. So we then spent out of the community chest fund £135,000 on Sparkle Park. We improved that park because I was, and I lived on Jeffrey Road around the corner.
Yes.
So we all served that area.
Yes.
So we spent £135,000 on getting that park fixed up,
Okay.
right? Including putting cricket nets in, because I'm a avid cricket fan.
Yes.
Always have been, always have, will be. Excuse me. And I also play cricket. So I thought, I saw these cricket nets somewhere, and I went, well, why can't we have them?
Yes.
So we put those nets in. That was a decision within the three councils. So now if I look at Sparkle Park and I look at Reading Lane Park, which is not in my ward, but even in Percy Road Park, they haven't really been fixed.
But there's no funding, is there?
Well, you can still get them fixed. There may not be a lot of funding, but you can get more funding for things like a few more swings and a roundabout.
Yeah, but what do you cut to subsidise what?
Well, that's I can't tell you that because we're not.
Because
I'm not the council.
the way the picture is being presented at the moment, we are totally bankrupt.
That's right. Well, actually, according to Labour, we're not bankrupt anymore.
Yeah,
Apparently, what they're
we've
saying is
actually-
they've
we've come out of it, apparently.
Exactly. But even then, I think each local ward will get £40,000 for the local council to decide what they want to do within that area. Okay. Now, for me, looking at safer green spaces, all that kind of stuff, make sure that potholes and all these kind of stuff I can do without being a councillor. Like I said, we've done 300 pieces of casework in terms of pothole, fly tipping, rubbish. But what we want to do is affect change. Youth services.
Yes.
Right. There's a huge.
So youth service is another buzzword.
Gigi.
What can you, in 2026, actually do for the youth?
Well, look, we need more community centres. We need to get them off the streets. We need to come up with ideas and plans to make sure the children have got something to do. For example, I mean, there's a fantastic initiative, I think through ECB Birmingham and Friends of Sparkhill Park, where they put up really 4 good nets in Sparkhill Park. So we can use that kind of stuff. We can do activities within the Sparkhill Council, which is within where the library is, right? We need to make sure our libraries stay open.
Is the police station still there?
No, the police station went years ago. It's now Bosnia House, I think it is. So the police stations have sort of
is the library still active?
The library is still active, yeah. Yes. And again, we're fighting to make sure that stays open, just like the whole Green Library and other libraries.
Yes.
And within our own Lib Dem group, one of the biggest things for us is to make sure the libraries stay open, because we still want the education. We still want people to go in there and get a better education. And that's one of our priorities, and it'll be one of my priorities. So we want to make sure that people of Sparkhill are getting the service that they're paying for. Because at this particular moment, your council tax has gone up by 23% in the last few years.
And there's no justification.
Exactly. That was going. You made my point for me.
There's no justification.
Are we getting the green? We're having to pay for green waste.
Yeah.
Right. They're not taking the green waste.
Yeah.
We're having to report rubbish on a daily basis on the roads. Why? Because our bins. They're a bit better now than they were when the strikes first started. But even then, there's a huge issue with dumping, fly tipping and all that. And, constantly we have to deal with that. Now, if we could sort out this mess with the refuse department, then hopefully that will get sorted. And years ago, when we were councillors, we used to have, it was called the Bring Out Your Dead. So each and every area, I think it was once every quarter, you could put everything out on the road.
Yes.
Right? Everything out on the road. And the crews would come and take it away. And the other thing that I want to sort of concentrate on is the dump, right, where we take all our stuff, right?
The tips.
The tips. Thank you. Now, right now, it's an email service. You have to book it online.
Yes.
For me, that shouldn't be the case. You should be able to go out whenever you want.
Up until a couple of years ago, you could just drive up.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a long queue.
Exactly. But I think that's a far better way of serving the community. If you can just take your stuff, get rid of it and come back. Because there are a lot of people who still have complained.
One comment here saying that 12 months ago, you were nowhere to be seen.
Really?
I live local in the area.
Okay. So I have been campaigning for the last 6-7 months. Unfortunately, you can't get everywhere. Look, the problem is, and this is another misconception, that we're in it for the money, you're never to be seen, it's a gravy train.
Yeah, but you need to, where you've got it wrong is you need to be standing there with a bin bag and your rubbish collector taking pictures. That's what you need to, because you're not doing that.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't been doing that. Although we do rubbish collectors and all that. But in terms of campaigning, we've been campaigning all year round. You put a leaflet nearly every 3 or 4 months. At this particular moment, we put a lot more out. Now, I can tell you, as an ex-councillor, I've had people knock on my door at 6 a.m. Mm-hmm. I've had people come to my house at 11 p.m. and knock on my door because they've had an issue. Mm-hmm. So, it's amazing that people only see it from one perspective. Okay. They don't see it from our perspective and how much work we actually do. Okay. I'm sure you've been a candidate. You know the amount of people you got to deal with. Yes. I get about 10, 12 calls minimum a day. Yes. In terms of some of the issues that people have got. Whether it's council tax, whether it's business rates, whether they want a reference. The amount of passport forms that we used to fill in. Seriously, it was unbelievable.
So a lot of these problems are kind of historic and they were relevant at the time when you were councillor. So you helped with the park, you helped with various things at that time.
Yeah, we said
and you've continued working in the community.
Of course.
But in the current day and age, the demographic has changed. Yeah. The requirements have changed. The needs of the community have changed. The generation has changed, completely changed, right? What do you see are the core root problems now specific to Sparkhill?
Well, Sparkhill, let's be honest, we've got a whole host of issues. First and foremost, everybody talks about is the bob shops.
Huge problem.
And some of the issues concern, I'm not going to make allegations here, but there are a lot of problems.
What are you going to do about them?
Well, of course, we need to look at, are they legal? Are they being monitored?
I think everyone knows the answer to that.
Well, look.
And the thing is, these are all, generic answers. Yeah. We want to see what's going to, because everyone says, they're legal or illegal. We all know the answer. Yeah. We all know what's going on.
So the actual shops are legal.
Yeah. And we all know what they're doing to our community.
Exactly. So there are two issues here as far as I'm concerned. Number one, the legality. It's a shop. That's what they open it as. But some of the issues within those and what they're doing within those shops is illegal. So again, we will work with enforcement teams to make sure that they're out there to. There's been a lot of enforcement already within these shops. Okay, few have been a few have closed down. But again, working with enforcement, we'll make sure that we're constantly on it. Because if you're constantly on it, they can't keep reopening. Now, the other thing we have a major problem with in Spark is HMOs, right? So we need to make sure the majority of the HMOs have they got the licenses.
There's an incredible amount of rogue landlords. I think they've registered legal landlords. There's only a handful. There's so many rogue landlords. How do you enforce the enforcement?
So again, it's working with our city council departments, making sure that if there are rogue landlords there, we identify them, because obviously if you don't know who they are, we need to identify them and then take action against them. Now, there's a lot of enforcement that we can do, and we will enforce to the letter of the law as far as I'm concerned. You okay there?
Don't worry, I've got to have my cup of tea. I've got to have my coffee, people. My brain doesn't work without the coffee.
I got mine. Yeah, listen, I got mine, so you should get yours.
My brain doesn't
It's all about enforcement. I don't think, and unfortunately, because Birmingham City Council has been financially constrained.
Someone has just said that I should stop insuring bob shops. Just as a rule, I don't insure bob shops.
You what? Sorry.
Just as a rule, I don't insure bob shops.
Oh, insure. Sorry.
Yeah. because and my second point about bob shops is that as well as the activity, the way they structure their shops and they take up half the pavement is obviously a nuisance to the pedestrians.
So when we were again, I'm going to hark back to when we were councillors. So we had enforcement officers. Those enforcement officers, which were just for Spark Hill at that time. So what they did was they went all around Spark Hill. They looked at all the shops. They made sure they had trade refuge licenses. Make sure they weren't encroaching onto the road itself, onto the pavement itself. So we need to go back to that. And there's been some enforcement recently in Spark Hill, but I think that needs to be on a regular basis, because what happens is they don't come around for 6 months, a year, 18 months. Then what do? They start coming out again. Yeah. You enforce them, they go back. Yeah, 8 months later, 6 months later, they go back. So we need constant enforcement.
Personally, obviously, I had a business on Stratford Road for 12 years.
Yeah.
And I occasionally pop back in now, and it's like it literally is like a different country.
Yeah.
It has changed so much. The lawlessness is incredible. The antisocial behavior is ridiculous. The parking. And the fear, generally there is fear of driving up and down the road, because you're going to have a collision, you're going to have an altercation, and someone's going to end up getting shot. And that's the general view out there.
There are a lot of issues. Now, unfortunately, it's about education.
Yes.
Right now, we as ex-candidates, ex-councillors, community members, and now we are the elders coming, 56 now.
And this is the key thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So we are, look, we can talk to our youngsters as much as we want, as much as we can, but they've got to go and implement those. We can't, the problem, if you go up to Stratford Road now, right, some guys will park one facing that way, one facing that, having a conversation. It's like they haven't got mobile phones anymore, right? Now, when you speak to them, you're worried about what they're going to say,
about the reactions.
Yes. But the problem is, we, as councillors, as community members, we can do as much as we can. But people within themselves have got to understand that we've got to do better within the community, for the community, right? But unfortunately, we haven't got that. We've still got a lot of issues within
But do you not feel that maybe that's a reason that the enforcement isn't being enforced? Because the enforcement officers are maybe scared of coming out. Because number one, they're going to appear on TikTok because someone's going to have a camera.
Yeah.
Number two, they're going to get abuse.
Yeah.
And like that incident in Sparkbrook where the traffic warden got beaten.
That's right.
That video went viral.
So I unfortunately, we have these issues. We have some rogue elements within our community. I think every community has those.
But we do need, and these particular problems are unfortunately specific to B8, B9, B10, B11, B12, our areas.
There's issues within every community.
Yes,
we can't just say that it's within our community. It's in every community. But are there more incidents within our area? Probably. I'm not going to say, for definite, but there are a lot of issues that we need to look at as a community, right?
Yeah, but now, as a councillor, what can you do, or what can you promise that will happen to kind of start tackling this?
Well, first and foremost, we need to work with the police. We need to make sure that the police aren't scared of coming in our area. Let's put it that way. Because you see enough police when there's an issue.
When they need to be there.
They are there. Yeah. So, obviously, working with the community, the community force, we need to make sure that we're liaising with the local police force, make sure we're driving around, make sure we've got more patrols within the area. I think what we do need is to have more enforcement within our area. And I will make sure that I ensure you right now that when I get elected, and I'll tell you, I'll make you another promise as well while I'm here. So if I get elected, I am more than happy to come and see you every 6 to 8 weeks to give you an update what we're doing.
Well, I plan to do that.
Because what we need is more accountability
Yes.
from people like us.
Yes.
I can sit here and promise you the world.
Absolutely.
Right? But what I can do...
Councillors need to be accountable.
Exactly. And what I promise you right here, right now, if I get elected, or inshallah when I get elected, let's be positive, I will come and see you every 6 to 8 weeks,
Yes.
and we can go through what we've done, how much enforcement we've done, how much issues we've tackled within the area. Sparkle Park, there's a lot of antisocial behaviour in the evenings.
Yes.
We need to make sure we're working with the police to tackle all those issues.
Okay.
Right?
So there's a question here that there's also there's the HMO issue, but there's also a massive influx now of exempt accommodation.
Mm-hmm.
What are your plans for that?
Well, I haven't even looked into that, but that's something that again, if there are issues within our community, within our area, whether it's exempt
Do you not feel that a
accommodation
lot of the families
within-
from Spark Hill have kind of moved upstream to Hall Green and maybe Shirley, maybe Solihull Hall?
That's just a look for myself. I grew up in Spark. I moved to Spark Hill. I grew up in Spark Hill, but obviously there comes a time when the house was too small and I've got to move
So
up.
now, because those properties are empty, they're just being filled up with HMOs and
With the rented out, yeah.
yes.
Because obviously the rental market is massive. Now, I wish I was in a position to have a house where I could rent out type of thing, but unfortunately, I'm not in that position. But yeah, there are rental properties within Spark Hill, Spark Road, Bowes Green, and the people who have done well have moved out of the area, and rightly so. They've worked hard, but we need to look at making sure that if there are issues and there are people who are highlighting those issues, we as local councils are dealing with those issues at that time straight away. We're not sort of pushing it to the back of the queue. We need to make sure that these are dealt with straight away. Because if you deal with the problem straight away, it doesn't get any worse.
Okay.
Yeah?
Are the Lib Dems planning a department for growth in Birmingham?
As far as I'm aware, there's always growth in Birmingham.
No,
Birmingham
are
is
they planning a specific department for growth in Birmingham?
not that I'm aware of. In growth in terms of what? I mean, so what are we looking at in terms of growth? So, for example, look, Birmingham. So when we took control in 2004, okay, if you look at Birmingham itself now, okay, a lot of the stuff that's happening within Birmingham city centre was planned many years ago.
Yes.
And if we, obviously that takes years and years for it to put into effect. Yeah. So there's always growth in Birmingham. You can't stop growth in Birmingham. Now, are we talking about more buildings? Are we talking about more jobs? Are we talking about more resources within it? Of course. There's always going to be a need for growth and resources, bringing more businesses into Birmingham, bringing more investment into Birmingham. And
It's about growing the economy, isn't it? I mean,
of
the thing
course,
is, if Birmingham grows economically,
and
we
of
all
course,
benefit.
Exactly. And Birmingham is the second city. If we go back to when I grew up in Birmingham,
It was something to be proud of.
and also there were a lot of issues in terms of, if you look at around Five Ways, it was one of the worst areas, right? Yes. If you look at Stockland Green, Erdington, there was a lot of issues in Birmingham, but they're not around. Even around the Birmingham University, all the underpasses, which were called Muggers Paradise.
No, it's seen prosperity.
Of course, it's grown over the years, and we needed that because Birmingham was all played second fiddle to Manchester.
But then it's taken a massive pivot,
Yeah.
and gone. It's taken a nosedive
In terms of
in terms of the whole of Birmingham. Like all this prosperity seems to have gone to waste.
Well, I don't know about waste. So what we have got, which is unfortunate, there's a lot more money within the last number of years spent in the city centre. So if you look at the exponential growth in the city centre, it's been huge. Yes. And I think that's at the detriment of local communities.
Yes.
Now, as a local councillor,
but
I want to make sure
growth in the city centre. But if you look at the high streets now, let's be honest, they're not doing the retail that they used to do because people are buying online.
But yeah, I'm just going to say, online shopping has taken a big chunk of the retail business, and that's something we need to look at. Now, can we give, I don't know, less business rates and so forth, reduce business rates and so forth for small businesses to make them more viable? Because
that's been banished now, hasn't it?
It has been.
The whole small business rates relief has been
exactly. And we need to look at these kind of issues. These kind of issues need to be looked at again.
So the businesses on Stratford Road, the hustling. I mean, it looks really busy. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, but in reality, in financial terms, it's not that great because the shopkeepers are trading. However, their overheads they are struggling.
Yeah, of course.
And I've seen many a shop where they've converted one massive shop into two shops.
Into 3 or 4 shops.
Illegally sometimes.
Yeah.
But they've done that to manage the costs. Okay. And it seems like the council is just determined to eliminate any sort of enterprise or business around Birmingham.
Well, I don't know about that. There are a lot of business going all the time. But the problem we have...
If you look at look at High Street Kingsley.
We have High Street. If you look at the Kingsley High Street now, compared to maybe 20 years ago, there was the High Street shops.
Yes.
Those High Street shops have moved away.
Yes.
That's even when I grew up in Spark Hill on the Stratford Road, you had Curry's, you had CNA, you had
Woolworths.
all the Woolworths, you had all the major high street stores. But unfortunately, they're always going to move out of there. But if you look at Stratford Road, you look at Moseley Road, you look at Spark Brook. See, even though the high street shops are not there, there's a lot of independent shops now, a lot. Yes. And they seem to be doing okay, to be fair. So we need to make sure that we are looking after all the local businesses.
Have you got any initiatives planned to kind of support
At this
the business
particular moment, as for my own self, no, because I'm concentrating in Spark Hill as a whole. But what I want to do is work with the business associations, like I did when I was there. So, example, we had the Red Route. We had a massive issue with the Red Route because a lot of the business didn't want it. But it was a government initiative, right? Yes. So we had to implement it. It was actually put in by the Conservative government, but once it's put in by the government, you have to implement those. Yes. Now, actually, it's a very good initiative, and I'll tell you why. Because if you park your car on the Stratford Road, a lot of the people used to park it for all day.
They still do.
Well, not as much now. Not as much now because it's enforced, right? Yeah. Now, if you're going to have 10 spaces, and out of those, 8 or 9 are taken up by the local businesses because they've got their vans parked there, or they've got their cars parked there, well, that gives you a lot less scope for people to come and shop in your shop, right? Yes. So the customer base is going down. Yes. But now, if you think about it, every car has to move after an hour. Yes. Okay. So the potential for those people coming to your shops is far higher now than it was before the Red Route came in. So there are advantages, pros and cons to everything. Yeah? So that, as far as I'm concerned, is a big problem for the area. So you get a lot more people coming into the area and moving. Now, we do need a lot more enforcement because if you look at some of the parking on Stratford Road, right, it's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So we need to make sure that we are working with the local council and making sure that the enforcement is far better.
Okay, so you've got the parking on Stratford Road, and that's obviously that's what draws the business in. Then you have the residential parking of Spark Hill. Yeah. I would say it's probably one of the worst in the country. I was speaking to somebody about this yesterday, and they said, well, what's the solution? You know, every house has 4 vehicles. But now, if you go to London, for example, Ilford, right? I recently went to a Martham there, and they have permits.
Yeah, I mean, there are places in Birmingham, there are resident parking areas. Yeah. Now, resident parking aren't exactly easy to implement. Yeah. So there's a cost behind that. And then there's a cost to the residents of that once that scheme is.
But if an ambulance is trying to get through, or a fire
engine, or anything,
or any emergency vehicle, or somebody's not the best of drivers and they're trying to navigate through Fulham Road, for example. Right.
Durham Road, Fulham Road.
It's like
Road.
How do you enforce that, and what do you do with it? Because around Alfred Street and that whole that beach road, that whole thing. It's absolute and utter chaos.
So let me, without sounding, how do you think that we tackle that? Because we have spoken to people left, right, and centre.
Well, I'm not the candidate. The candidate should have
no. What I'm saying, a plan. Yes. Well, it's not a solution; it's a plan. You've got our plan. Solutions, inshallah, will come in time. But we need plans to make sure that we're tackling this. Now, education is a key. Yeah. How do you change a person's mindset? You can't. You keep speaking to people, keep trying to educate people, especially the youngsters and the youth.
Maybe tougher enforcement.
We are going to have tougher enforcement. I can guarantee you that. I can guarantee you.
Because I guarantee you now, if we go after this and we sit outside Piccadilly Cinema and look at that one-way road and count in 10 minutes how many vehicles come up that one-way road the wrong way.
So, yeah, of course.
It is complete and utter lawlessness.
Even in Sheridan Lane. Yes. So when you got, everybody turns right.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, there's things we can do, and that's what will be. I mean, that's not in my area, but in Spark. But again, you're right. Enforcement is the key. Yes. Now, how we can do that? Work with the local council, make sure the enforcement teams are out on a regular basis. Now, we can have rolling patrols. So one day they can be at that Sparkwood Junction, one day they can be at Sheridan Lane Junction. But the problem is you've got so many people doing it. Now, the more people that we catch and more people we advertise, inshallah, the message will get through. But enforcement is the key as far as I'm concerned.
Communication. Councillors are sometimes very poor at communicating with their local residents. How do you plan to stay visible? And how do you plan to stay connected?
Of course, that's a very good question. Now, as part of the Lib Dems Women with Councillors, and also even beyond that, we used to put out a focused newsletter every 6 weeks.
Okay.
Every 6 weeks, guaranteed. A focused newsletter through your door, telling you what we've done, where we've done it, if there's any issues, what local services you can contact.
Yeah.
We used to do that every 6 weeks. And that will be a given,
Okay.
right? It will happen again when we get elected. Excuse me. So not a problem. Communication, and we do also, myself and Jerry Evans were the only council who did 4 advice bureaus a week. Every Monday, in different parts of the ward, we did advice bureaus. So
Every month?
No. Every week.
So basically 4 a month.
No, 4 a week. Every Monday,
Yeah.
for half an hour,
Yeah.
we did one on Shakespeare Street.
Okay.
We did one on the Stratford Road. Actually, not far from your shop, when right opposite Fulham Road.
Yes.
The community centre that used to be there.
Okay.
We used to be in there.
Okay.
And then there was one on, I can't remember. So we did 4 every Monday. Every Monday, half an hour, we would be in that, and people would come and see us.
Okay.
And on top of that, my phone number was in every leaflet, as it is right now, and people contact me at any time.
Okay.
Right? Not a problem. Emails are on there, phone numbers are on there. So if you want to contact us, it's not a problem. And we're on Facebook, and we're on Instagram, and we're on TikTok.
Okay.
So contacting is not a problem. Now, if there's somebody out there who thinks they've emailed me or they've contacted me, I've not got back to them, please tell me. Because I reply to all my emails and all my contacts, because it's imperative that we always reply. Now, I'm not saying that I've got a magic wand and I can do everything at any time, but what you will get is a response and an effort for us to try and alleviate the concerns. For example, Newton Road right now, residents have contacted me. You know, the lampposts,
Yeah.
where the old lampposts were, they've actually put them further back.
Okay.
Okay, now that's affected people with mobility scooters.
Sometimes, do you not feel the council does things which you think,
What the heck
which
you do?
bright spark thought of that idea?
Well, exactly, and this is that moment.
And there's no accountability.
Yep.
First of all, there's no consultation.
Yep.
They talk about consultation, but
Yeah.
I don't think it really
Exactly.
happens.
So now we're tackling that issue right now through, because I'm not a councillor, through Roger Harmer, who's the Lib Dem leader.
Yeah.
I put that to him. I've sent him the photographs, and we're looking at that current issue. Apparently, it's on Park Road and a few other roads as well. So we don't know why the heck they've moved the lampposts where the original were by the road itself. They've moved them back. So if you've got a mobility scooter, if you've got a pushchair with a double pushchair, you've lost that. You have to now go on the road and go around. So we're looking at why that's happened.
You
so
aren't
these are
planning no
local issues.
cycle routes in Sparkhill, are you?
So I say that again.
You're not planning no cycle routes in Sparkhill, are you?
No, not
sure?
by a long way. Not by a long way. I have no issues about cycling. Look, again, it's demographics. You've got to look at what do we need in Sparkhill. But cycling is one of them. Right, enforcement for parking, making sure the trade refuse licenses of the shops have got trade refuse licenses, make sure the HMOs are looked at. There's a lot of issues within Sparkhill. Now, also, I want to make sure that we've got youth services. We've got places for elderly people to go and sit down. So when I was a councillor, I actually made an older people's club in the Sparkhill Centre.
Okay.
Right? So they were always sitting on the benches, they were all sitting in the parks and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I got approached and I said, fine. Now, we put about £3,000 into that. So they had tea, coffee, something to sit down, play some games. Exactly. And that was the Sparkle Centre, right? Now, when I lost my seat, that went by the wayside. So my plan is to make sure we've got that open again for the elderly. And also what they've requested is more benches in Sparkle Park.
Yeah.
And that's something I will look at. So there are a lot of local issues that I'm looking at already. So inshallah, we'll do that continued when we become councillors.
People, please do share the live and please do put your questions in the comments. Genuine questions, please, not the spam that I'm getting at the moment. Let's behave ourselves. Come on. Right, quick fire round.
Quick fire. Mm-mm.
Yes. Have your political beliefs changed? Yes or no?
From when? From when I first became a councillor,
Yes.
when I first got involved in politics?
From when you first became a councillor?
So I'm going to say
Yes
yes.
or no?
Yes.
Were you fully aligned with the Conservative values in 2022?
For the local politics, yes. I was never interested in national politics to a certain extent.
Are you fully aligned with the Lib Dem values of today?
I am.
Do you understand the voters may question your consistency?
Of course. And they have every right to do so.
Do you think switching parties has affected your credibility or trust?
Well, not when it comes to wanting the best for the local community, no, because I always have been interested in making sure that my interests align with the local community. So the answer is no.
Are you asking your voters to take a leap of faith?
Of course.
Do you regret any political decisions you've made?
Yes, join the Conservatives.
Were you always clear with voters about your beliefs?
Always have been, always will be.
This time, will you stay consistent?
Indeed. 100%.
Can voters rely on you long term?
Well, they always have done and always will do, yes.
Should voters judge you on your actions or on your words?
Well, actions, of course.
Now, Sparkhill
Yeah.
has got some strong candidates.
Indeed.
I've had somebody previously who's also standing for Sparkhill. Why should people vote for you as opposed to the fresh blood that's now coming through?
Again, fantastic question. So firstly, judge me by my previous record. Yeah. If you want, anybody can have a look at the council, or do a freedom of information request, have a look at the work we did before, speak to people within Sparkhill who've known me as an ex-councillor, right? If they think that I didn't do the job that I was meant to, by all means, go to whoever you want. But the one thing I can promise you is that I will be there for the community, always have been, always will be. I will tackle the issues that are presented to me, always have done, always will do. Again, my priority, and let's address an elephant in the room. People say you do it for the money. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, when I got elected as a councillor, it's about 15,000, I think, at the time.
Yes.
Now, I used to work I was a community development manager for the Birmingham Social Mental Health Trust.
Yes.
I was doing a decent work there. And I had a partnership in a restaurant as well.
Okay.
Now, I went over the threshold. So I actually lost money.
Yeah.
Right? I was over the 40%. Right? I was paying 40% tax. Yes. So it wasn't about the money.
Okay.
And that'll be exactly the same now. So it's no gravy train as far as I'm concerned. My political beliefs and the way I operate, and you've known me for a long time, and when I leave here, you can tell the public what you think of me or how I was as a councillor. You've known me for a long time, okay? So my priorities always have been, always will be the community.
Yeah.
I'm here for the community. And you know,
it's great that I have Reform Party watching this live.
Yeah.
Please be respectful because I can give as good as I get. Sorry, carry on.
say that again. What was that?
Don't carry on. Okay. Carry on. Carry on.
I'm not gonna.
And I have no issue on doing it live. I really have.
Okay. So look again. You know, my priorities are all about the local issues.
Yeah.
Always have been, always will be. And like I said, could I have been a better councillor? Of course.
Okay.
But I know I wasn't the worst councillor. I know, and people get a lot of stick. People don't see the amount of effort that we do put in.
Come 7th of May,
Yeah.
and the result doesn't go your way.
Yeah, I'll be here. I'll be here in 4 years' time. Look again.
Will you be up to supporting the candidate that gets elected?
100%.
Will you still be doing what you're doing?
100%. I have no intention of going anywhere.
Because generally, I mean, if you don't win, obviously you have a week of misery and sobbing and getting over that.
Listen.
After that, do you get your hands dirty and do you roll up your sleeves and get back stuck in, or do you vanish for 4 years and in 2030 we're sitting here all over again?
We'll let you put that to the test. Now, I'm a bit long in the tooth. I've lost a few elections. It hasn't deterred me then. It won't deter me now. My priorities are the local issues. Mm-hmm. And if that means working with whoever gets elected, 100%. Because again, it's for the betterment of Sparkhill that I am here. And inshallah, with the will of Allah, we'll be here as long as I can. And obviously, we want to bring new blood in as well. You know, I'm 56. You know, I don't know how long I'm here for, but we need more. And again, it's really good to see all the youngsters get involved in politics. Yes. And we need more of that.
I must say, I mean, this time around, there's quite a few. I've had a 21-year-old come and see me from the Green Party. I know there's some youngsters standing in Sparkbrook, across the city.
Yep.
So that's actually really refreshing and it's good to see.
But the thing is, if it's again, you know, they can't people point fingers at us. It's one of those really thankless jobs as being a councillor. You're damned if you're doing, you're damned if you're doing, you're damned if you don't. So we need to make sure
your opponent actually said something which actually resonates with you. And I put this out on a video 2 weeks ago but I don't think people got the message. But what Shahid Butt said was, if you actually knew the role of a councillor, you'd run from it.
A million miles. And I've said to people, come and, when I was a councillor, come and shadow me for a week, right?
So
And then,
why have we got, at the present moment, every Chacha and his dog trying to become a councillor? Please, answer that for me.
I wish I could. Look, people think we've had a number of people.
Do you think it's about prestige?
We've had a number of people fall by the wayside. Why? We've had to get new candidates. Why? Because once you realise the amount of effort it takes to become become a councillor, and the amount of effort that you have to do, the amount of phone calls you have to take, the amount of people you have to visit, the amount of organisations you have to visit.
But don't you think that, I mean, saying that, and someone who's been in the political arena longer than I, more than anybody here.
Apologies.
That's probably a resident ringing him.
And you're not far wrong.
This is a council live in action.
Right. No, 1 second. Right, my apologies. I'm sorry about that. So yeah.
So
again, yeah, exactly. Look, we get honestly, and again, what people don't understand is, so I'll give you a quick funny
with that
story.
in mind, right? With that in mind, do you not feel that there should be some set criteria for someone to become a candidate? There should be some core basics.
Yeah.
Like when you're employing somebody, you obviously want to employ the best.
Of course.
And you go through an interview process, you go through a vetting process. Why is it when it comes to local elections and we're choosing people to represent our interests at a senior level, we're allowing every Chacha Taraka Mama to jump on the bandwagon? And this really frustrates me. I mean, on this campaign alone, I've seen launch ceremonies where they're putting hard on them as if the guy's getting married.
So again, this comes to cultural issues, doesn't it? I'm afraid. Look, in my personal opinion, we need people who are credible candidates. We need people who can represent your issues, your concerns at a council level, at the council meetings and all that, and speaking to council officers, make sure you relaying the issues that are relevant at that time. Now, we have got an issue where most parties are going to vet you, but when you want to stand independent, you just need two people to sign your form and you can stand as a councillor. But that's, again, something that we can look at in the future in terms of how we can change that. Mm-hmm. But I think everybody has a right to stand. If they think they can make the area a better place.
But I think that's down to interpretation, isn't it?
Of course it's interpretation. My interpretation might not be what you think or might not what somebody else thinks. But I think everybody has a right. And that I'm not going to take that away from anybody. If they feel that they're in a position to make the area a better place, so be it. When it's cha-cha, taya, mama, next door.
But do you not feel they probably should have a say as to...
Well, they do. It's called voting.
Yeah, but...
Well, they do. That's the democratic process. So you can put your...
But even to put yourself as a candidate, do you think it should be a bit more stringent?
Again, if you're in a party, then yes, of course it's stringent, right? Mm-hmm. Now, as a somebody who wants to stand as an independent, that's their prerogative, and I welcome it. But the problem is when we come back to what we talked about earlier, independence. Mm-hmm. Now, let's say they get elected. What real change can they make within that council? Okay. So it will come back to where we were with respect with the party with the I can't remember the name now, Justice League, right? The Justice Party. They came to the Lib Dems. So when you want to affect real change within policies, within budgetary, monetary, you have to be with a party. You can't affect real change.
Final point.
Yeah.
What do you think went wrong with the Labour Party in the last 4 years?
Well, look, Labour
Why
Party,
are we where we are?
Yeah, okay. So let's look at Labour Party as a whole. So when I grew up, and again, I'm 56, Labour Party was all about working people. Mm-hmm. Make sure their rights were looked after, make sure they were credible. We had a lot of really good Labour policies in terms of working class people. If we look at it now, then what's the difference between Labour and Conservatives right now? Mm-hmm. Actually, I would say that Labour are worse than the Conservatives right now. Mm-hmm. And we look at the things like ILR, indefinite leave to remain. There's a whole host of policies which now don't reflect the working class people, mm-hmm. right? Now, when we grew up, my dad, he was working, he was a one-man band, he was working, we could save, go to Pakistan, go on holidays or whatever, pay the mortgage. If you look at right now, with 14 years of Conservative failure, right? 14 consecutive years of Conservative failure, we're in the position that we are, right? Now, people may blame COVID, may blame all sorts of things, but the fact of the matter is, if we started taxing the rich to a certain amount, we will still have a fantastic NHS the failure of putting money into the NHS, failure of putting money into the police force, social services. I mean, you look at just about every single aspect of government has lost money.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Failed, yeah.
So what we need to do is make sure we go back to the days where we actually tax the rich and they pay their fair share.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, look at some of the wealth, it's ridiculous amount of wealth compared to. So why in this day and age, in the UK, have we got the elderly population in the winter thinking about either heat or eat, right? Why have we got one of the highest child poverty rates in the UK? Why? It's beggars belief. It really is. Honestly, it annoys me to no end. Look at homelessness. Why are we in this country? And people say, oh, and what cracks me up as well is people blame immigration for everything. Right? It's all of a sudden it's the
Immigration, yes.
immigration, or the people coming on the boats. But if you look at how much money we actually spend on them, it's a pittance compared to what we give to this guy from Manchester United. He's had so much breaks. He's registered in Monaco, but he's telling us that immigration is a problem. He's a billionaire who doesn't pay any taxes in this country. Yet took 400 million from this government, but yet he's telling us that we're being colonized. I mean, so we have these issues where immigration seems to be pointed at by reform, by conservatives. Look at what Cami Badenoch is saying. There was an issue where we had the Ukrainians, right? And again, what's going on in Ukraine is not good. And they did this open borders where the Ukrainian families were coming in and people were asked to take in the families, right?
Yes.
Now, the same criteria for a Palestinian family was used, and Cami Badenoch called it a loophole. So if a Palestinian uses the same thing, it's a loophole, but yet everybody else...
Uses it, it's,
you understand? So these are the kind of things that make us look, hang on, well, why are we treated as second-class citizens?
Yes.
Yeah? This is the problem we have.
Tanveer, it's been an absolute pleasure. Our time is up. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much indeed. I really have enjoyed it.
I wish you the very best
Thank
in
you.
your campaign.
Thank you.
And if you get elected, I should be seeing you.
Well, even if I don't,
Hopefully,
if I do get elected,
very soon.
100%. But even if I don't, I'll be here.
Yes.
Honestly, I promise you. Yes. For me, it's all about making sure that we in Spark Hill get what we deserve.
Thrive. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Much appreciated. Jazakallah khair. Thank you.
People, thank you very much for tuning in. And my next interview is with an independent candidate on Saturday. The marketing will be coming out very, very soon. Please do stay tuned. And I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.